Welcome to Fool's Key Tarot. I'm Ben, and this is a daily reading for Friday, June 6th, 2025. Let's see what the cards have in store for us. The Five of Pentacles. This might be a loss or feeling excluded, left out of a group maybe, feeling isolated and alone, but with some company. Somebody else might have been excluded with you or have suffered the same loss as you. Next, the Star, Major Arcana number 17. This can represent hope and inspiration and finding your path, kind of like the North Star is often used to represent your guiding purpose. Finally, the Page of Swords. This can be inquisitiveness, curiosity, asking difficult questions, maybe even painful questions, but being willing to confront the truth, even if it hurts a little bit. So that painful truth might be why we need a little bit of healing, which is something represented by the Star card. Often it's during those moments of healing and recuperation that we consider what path are we on, what goals are we working towards, and why are we working towards those goals. And that can be a time to reconsider those questions, which is the type of thing represented by the Star card. And the Five of Pentacles also represents a loss of some kind. So that connects with the Page of Swords, where both can represent a difficulty that could then have led to the Star. So I'm thinking that probably you asked a question that you got an answer to that you didn't expect, or that was much worse than you thought, or was the answer that you were the most afraid of getting and has caused you to be left out in the cold. There is a nice warm reality that you were living in, and with this new piece of information, you might not have asked the question out loud, but it's a question you've been asking yourself maybe on the inside, if not an outside question that you asked somebody else. And when you received the answer, it caused you to have to leave that comfortable place and be out in the cold and feel somewhat alone, somewhat forsaken, definitely uncertain and afraid of where you're going to go next, because you can no longer live in this place. But the good news is that even though this place that you were living was comfortable and warm and welcoming and inviting, it was also probably based on denial or a lack of facing the truth. Because you asked this question, I think you got an honest answer to a question you've been asking or wondering, and it's a hard truth that you got as a response, and that is what has left you feeling alone and out in the cold, but wiser and more knowledgeable, because now you have faced a difficult truth. So you've heard some kind of difficult truth, probably in response to a question you've been asking. This truth or this fact has sent you somewhere either that you didn't expect, or it's like the worst case outcome that you were the most afraid of and probably figured that it's not likely to happen. Usually the worst case outcome is one of many outcomes and therefore isn't an extremely likely one. But unfortunately, I think you did get pretty close to the worst case coming out of this question or this inquiry. This could just be some kind of investigation represented by the Page of Swords. Somehow you went looking for answers, and you got an answer that disturbed you, and that feels like it took something away from you. Probably a truth that you were clinging to that has now been taken from you. And that is why you are seeking comfort, you're seeking healing, you're seeking knowledge, you're seeking guidance. All of these things because of the unraveling of this question. And now you're wondering where to go from here. And you're wondering how you are going to get by now that you're missing the thing that you've lost. Because whatever you lost after learning this information or asking this question, it's something that isn't just knowledge. It feels tangible. And it is tangible. So maybe there was a group of people that you feel like you can no longer associate with or be around, or even if you can be with them physically, maybe it's just not the same anymore. You don't have the same level of connection. You can't rely on them for the same kind of support, whether that support is financial or emotional or just using their resources in some way. Could be access to a physical location that you no longer have now. Some tangible resource is gone now that you understand the truth of the matter. And that is making things very difficult for you. You're not sure how to proceed. And I think the cards are saying that's okay. You're at this moment now of learning, but also suffering. And those two things often go together. And they usually lead to growth and lead to betterment. But in the meantime, it can be very discomforting and full of uncertainty because it's hard to see how it's all going to work out. Even though you know the truth now, you feel like you have much less going for you in the now, currently. And even though armed with better knowledge, you will be better prepared to create a more fruitful path in the future, it doesn't look like that right now, and it doesn't feel like that right now. And that makes it very hard to pick up the pieces and to move forward. So that is the stage represented by the star, that moment after some kind of difficulty. Remember that major arcana number 16, one right before the star, which is number 17, is the tower, which represents a major upheaval, usually a very devastating event. And the star is that moment afterwards of quietness as you recover and you figure out how you're going to move forward in this new reality. So fortunately, the tower didn't show up. So I don't know if the event that created this is that dramatic or bad. But you're definitely suffering due to some kind of truth or knowledge. And the suffering isn't just intellectual. It's actually led to the loss of something tangible and real. And you're trying to figure out how to move forward and how to pick up the pieces. And the cards are saying to be patient. You don't have to see the entire path before you. You just have to know what your next step is. And once you take that step, the next step after it might become more clear. So it can be useful to have the guiding star in the night sky, your North Star, as it's sometimes said, when you have a final destination in mind and every single step can be directly towards that destination or towards that star on the horizon. That feels great because you can connect your progress to your goal in a very direct way. But that is a luxury. We don't always have that. It's not always clear what we're working towards. And right now, I think you're in a place where you're not completely clear, and the cards are telling you to be okay with that. It's uncomfortable, but it's okay to sit in this moment of uncertainty after difficulty and during difficulty. I think these difficulties are ongoing, and you're trying to figure out how to move forward. It's okay to just live with that for a little bit. If you're not immediately ready to move on to the next stage, if you don't immediately have a next goal or a different plan about how to achieve that goal, that's okay. Take some time, look for inspiration, look for a healer, look for somebody who might be able to help you out. Whether they can replace some of the tangible things that were lost, that would be great. But even if they can't do that, emotional support, just somebody to discuss the situation with, and in particular, the star has to do with inspiration. So finding a way to get back that burning desire for whatever it is that you feel like you are going to have a harder time accomplishing now. You've had the means taken away from you. But the question is, whether or not you have those means, how strong is the desire to achieve the goal that you were using those means for? And I'm guessing that not only have some of those resources and means been taken away, but also you find your desire and your motivation is also somewhat sapped and reduced. And I think the cards are saying to figure that part out first. It might feel more important to have the physical resources that are necessary, because then you could just make progress. And the actual motivation and inspiration and that feeling of drive, well, that's intangible. Maybe it's not completely necessary as long as you had what you needed physically. But that's not really true. If you don't have a clear picture and a strong desire to get what you want, then it doesn't really matter how many resources you have, because you're not going to use them wisely and you're not going to make efficient progress. So the cards are saying figure out that motivation first. Make sure you can find what it is that you want strongly in your soul. And if that's something different than what you were chasing before, then that's fine. If it's the same thing as before, then that's also fine. But first rediscover that sense of purpose, then go about trying to figure out how to acquire the tools that are necessary for achieving that purpose. So if you enjoyed today's reading, then subscribe to see more. And if you'd like to learn about tarot cards or try some of my online guided readings, then head on over to foolskey.com where you can check that out. Thanks for watching and see you tomorrow.